Hello, everybody! After casting and coaching actors for decades, I discovered something pretty shocking. 80% of talented actors fail their auditions for the exact same reasons. Today, I'm revealing what separates the top 10% who book consistently from everybody else. And it's probably not what you think. I'm Gunnar Rohrbacher, founder of Actors Comedy Studio in Hollywood, the author of The Comedy Code, your complete guide to acting and writing in the digital age of Hollywood, and I've spent 30 years decoding the entertainment industry as an actor, writer, improviser, and casting director. I've been on both sides of the audition table, and I'm here to share what actually works. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a California native and a curious person by nature, so I just sort of threw myself into all of these different industry jobs as I was wandering through Hollywood. I didn't realize it at the time, but as I was going through my journey as an actor and a writer, I was decoding and demystifying showbiz. The one thing that remained constant is that whatever I learned, I wanted everybody else to know. I thought it would be helpful if we all worked from the same body of knowledge, and I still do. For many reasons, I've never forgotten how scared I was to say the words, I want to be an actor. I never forgot how scared I was to audition for the school at the Groundlings where I started. I was scared that they would say yes. I was scared on my first day of class and scared how often the process of learning the craft challenged me to be vulnerable and grow. I was scared when I realized that to be an actor, I need to learn to love myself so that others could. On the day that I auditioned for the Groundling School, I was so nervous and unsure I should even be taking a class. I circled the building for like 20 minutes before I parked. I did not believe that I had permission to be an actor from who I don't even know, but I still felt very much not allowed. But I pressed on. Somehow I screwed up the courage to walk in. The instructor had us sit on the floor in a circle to play an introductory improv game called One Word Story. Maybe you've played it. I was so incredibly anxious that my hands were visibly shaking. My heart was racing, and every instinct in my 20-year-old body told me to get up and bolt. But I was too scared to do even that. So I sat on my hands, followed the instructions, and played the game. I did okay. We played a couple of more games, and then that was it. It was over. And somehow I didn't die. Uh, I got a call the next day that said I could start training. Terrifying. Today, I teach master classes at the Groundlings on acting for the camera. So what changed? Well, my body of knowledge for sure, but more importantly, my mindset. My first acting teacher later became one of the biggest sitcom stars in television history, and she taught me something about performing that changed everything. But first, why am I here? I'm here to inspire you to be brave. I know that every student and client I encounter might have their own fears, and I want to help erase those fears as much as I want to give information. I'll never forget how powerful my fears were, and that as we go along our journey as creative spirits, new fears can surface when we least expect them. So it's fair to say I have a passion for teaching, but really, the passion is about helping you eliminate fears and helping everyone I work with claim the best version of themselves. In upcoming videos, I'll show you the exact script analysis method I created that working actors use to book jobs, why most actors misinterpret audition sides and how to fix that. And I'll also share industry insider techniques I've taught at SAG-AFTRA, Disney Animation Studios, the Groundlings, and many other notable institutions. But first, let me explain what I discovered as a casting director that changed everything. I'm a really good casting director, except I was slow. And not just slow because I needed to wake up and have another cup of coffee slow. I was slow because every time I brought in an actor and they began to struggle, I wanted to help them. And it took a lot of time. Sure, some actors were on point from the get-go and didn't need any notes. Their best take was their first take, and they knew it. I knew it. The producers knew it. You could see on their resume that they worked a lot, and it was easy to see why. They came in totally confident and clearly knew the assignment. That was about 10% of the people who auditioned on any given day. At the other end of the spectrum were the people who clearly needed to study more. They weren't ready for any professional audition. And by study more, I mean the very basics, the fundamentals, core acting tenets. They seemed nervous. They clearly hadn't taken an audition technique course. Their cold reading skills weren't there. So it's not a matter of good actor versus bad actor. They just weren't ready yet. They couldn't connect with the reader or handle adjustments. They'd gotten themselves an agent, or they wouldn't have been there. So there was that. But still, they weren't ready for the job that they were applying for. Almost like someone asking to be a lawyer when they hadn't passed the bar. That's how it felt. That was also around 10% of the people who auditioned on any given day. So, what was really intriguing, though, is that that left roughly 80% of the actors in the same boat. They should definitely be there auditioning. The talent and the training was there. So, they're not in that bottom 10% at all. But unless they get some specific help, unless they adjust their mindset, they're definitely not going to join that top 10% either. They're definitely not going to book that job or maybe any job with the habits and misconceptions they have about acting at the professional level. Carefully chosen words. Acting for the camera as opposed to the stage. Knowing how to break down a script for TV and film as opposed to theater. The list goes on and on. And these are smart, talented people who've made a commitment to acting as a career. They were just missing chunks of critical information that every working actor has acquired at some point by some means. And I knew if I could give them that information, they could join that top 10% who booked. Now, what I'm talking about is more than just a typical adjustment most casting directors give. Speed it up, show more colors, raise the stakes. We've all heard those. They're easy. What we really needed was a conversation. I could tell when an actor had chops, but had mostly worked on stage and weren't yet comfortable with a camera. I could see when actors were approaching a sitcom audition, the way they'd attack an improv scene on a stage. Go for the comedy, hit all the jokes, make it funny as possible. I could even see when an actor might have dyslexia or a learning disability or issues with reading comprehension because I could see talent through some pretty huge mistakes that were being made that had to do with understanding the facts within the script. And yes, there are facts within a script, elements that everybody should see the same. There were times when I'd stop a session and simply ask actors what they thought was going on in the scene. They'd answer, and more often than you might think, they weren't even close by a mile. And these were intelligent, talented actors with solid training. To be clear, I'm not talking about the small window of interpretation different people might have on a scene, different takes, so to speak. That's valid. I'm talking about auditions for a TV series that was already on the air. The world of the show was already established, and actors were perceiving the scene they were given in a way that could never possibly be filmed for that show. Whether it was character choice or tone or emotional reactivity, their talent was clear, but the performance was a swing and a miss. And since Hollywood is my home, and I knew so many of these people, friends, colleagues, teachers of mine, even some faces you'd recognize, I had to help because they were just absolutely bombing despite their tremendous talent. And those conversations slowed me down. Slow casting director. Good. It's slow. So yeah, it wasn't a matter of a simple adjustment. I had to help these brilliant but misinformed actors shift their brains into the same lane as the writers, producers, the networks, and the studios, who all saw the sides, the scenes, the exact same way, including me, the casting director. I needed to teach them something that they clearly did not know. Show business has a shared standard of intent. Every time I explained this to actors, they rethought a lot of what they thought they knew about the industry, and it changed the game. And I'll expand on that phrase a bit later. What many of these actors didn't understand is that the margin of interpretation of sides for a professional acting job is not as great as they think. Professional acting is like hitting a bullseye, but most actors don't even know where the target is. So, in order to help these actors learn exactly where to aim, we needed a conversation, not just a note. Too many actors interpret sides for TV and film auditions the way they would for a play or an exercise for an acting class. Let's try this a bunch of different ways and see what happens. They make choices for the scene and their character that exist outside of the breakdown and don't aren't justified by the dialogue. They insert ideas into the scene that don't belong in order to maybe stand out. That makes the writers and the producers think that you don't understand the material. Over and over and over again, I'd redirect these actors with notes from the writer's perspective. They'd have an epiphany that largely had to do with their homework skills, and then they'd crush it. Whether they booked or not, they could leave with their heads held high and have no questions about whether or not they did well. No doubts about getting it right, and no beating themselves up after all the valuable time that they spent preparing. Let me tell you, the camera sees doubt and defeat. The best actor in the world can't overcome feeling uncertain about their choices. You cannot hide being confused about what your audition sides are asking you. I helped a good friend of mine cast a comedy series for ABC. It was one of the best times I ever had in casting because the show was semi-improvised. I'm an improviser. So there was a script and we also played off script. It was super fun. I got to read with some of the funniest people in show business. It was a blast. But at the end of casting that show, I had a realization. Although working in casting was incredibly fun, I kept feeling the pull to share all of the intricate, detailed, specialized knowledge that I'd discovered. My passion to teach won out, so that's where I put my focus. I opened my own school and I've taught thousands of people from around the globe. I specialize in comedy, but I teach and coach all genres. Good acting is good acting. And as they say, if you can do comedy, you can do anything. I suppose that's true. I've been honored to guest teach at SAG-AFTRA many times, the Groundlings in Hollywood, CalArts, the American Film Institute, and dozens of other schools and venues around the country and around the world. I've been an on-set acting coach for 2 network television series. I wrote the curriculum for the Acting for TV comedy courses at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and created the Acting for Animators program for Walt Disney Animation Studios. I'm kind of a curriculum nerd. Yeah, the stuff's written down, kids, not just shooting off the hip. Oh, and my first performance teacher was Lisa Kudrow, who you might know as Phoebe Buffay from Friends and many other TV series and films. She was one of many heavyweight instructors and mentors I had when I was coming up through the ranks. One night I was in class with Lisa, and I realized I'd forgotten something in my car. I left class to go get it, and as I went out to the street, I was held up at gunpoint by 4 guys. The barrel of a gun pressed into my temple. They took my wallet. I wasn't hurt, and that was the end of it. I went back to class as fast as I could, in total shock, threw open the door, and just blurted out, I was just held up. All of the students either laughed or rolled their eyes, assuming it was a joke. Lisa alone said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I could see her heart sink immediately. She grabbed me, ushered me into the office, and called the police. As we were waiting, she had her arm around my shoulder, and I asked, "How did you know I wasn't kidding?" And she said, "Well, I'm an actor. It's my job to see the truth." Mic drop. Everything else I learned as an actor was filtered through that experience. With this channel, I want to help actors, writers, and artists thrive. I teach real industry standard skills, not theory, because what you need is practical knowledge, and knowledge gives us power. I know why certain actors book and thrive within the industry while others don't. And guess what? It's not a secret. It's knowledge born from experience. Booking work has to do with meeting the industry on its own terms and being able to solve someone else's problem at a moment's notice. Success occurs when opportunity meets preparation, right? So what does the industry expect from you? As I mentioned earlier, Hollywood show business itself has a shared standard of intent. Let me burn that phrase into your brain. Hollywood has a shared standard of intent when it comes to getting a project made, a film shot, a TV series created. What exactly does that mean? Let me unpack it for you. Think of people who do the day-to-day work here. Agents, managers, casting directors, producers, showrunners, network executives. They know each other. They have ongoing business-to-business relationships just like any other industry. They work closely together and they all see the relevant information, the breakdowns, the scripts, the whole trajectory of a project largely the same way. Everyone else involved in a TV series or film has been in on the conversation, so to speak, as it's gone from concept to completion. The last part of production is casting the actors. Actors typically have the least information about the project they're auditioning for and the least time to prepare relative to everybody else involved. We scramble to put together a self-tape or hustle into a live audition, often feeling like we wished we knew more or had the rest of the script or had more time to prepare. Auditions can feel like shooting arrows in the dark or throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks, but it doesn't have to be that way. Booking work isn't simply a matter of casting the best overall actor who auditions. It has to do with finding an actor who is right for the part, but also feels like they understand the flow of the industry and the DNA of the particular project at hand. Actors who book work think the way writers, producers, and casting directors think, sometimes without even realizing it. A lot of working actors I know can't even tell you why they book, other than just being well trained, experienced, knowing their type, etc. They're cast because they feel aligned with everything else that's going on in the ecosystem of the production. Their audition says more than "I have training, I'm a good actor." It says, all you have to do is drop me on the set and I will play this part like a star with no further questions asked. I know that can sound intimidating, but what I'm talking about is learnable. When I say that show business has a shared standard of intent, it simply means that it operates with common sense guidelines, collective guidelines. The people who function within it on a daily basis know that films and TV series all have structure and a format that's similar. No matter how different 10 TV shows might feel to watch, they're all made the exact same way. Same structure, same order of operation, same needs. And more or less the same players, the same people are involved in getting these shows and films made speaking the same language. You can learn how to speak the language of show business too. I know because I did. Yes, show business is creative, but it's also guided by common business practices. Every single production wishes it had more time and more money. No producer in Hollywood has ever said, wow, I had way more time to make this movie than I knew what to do with, ever. That's never been said. Once a product rolls into production, it moves at breakneck speed. The industry expects you to join a team that's already collected and in motion while holding onto and showcasing your unique abilities. So they should probably be developed well in advance of the opportunities that will come your way. Hollywood has never moved at a faster pace than it does now. Auditions come with little notice, and the job almost always goes to the actor who knows exactly what their wheelhouse is, their type. So we'll figure out who you are in the marketplace here together. My videos will address both craft and career, and I want to help you stay informed about the news of the industry as well. So we'll talk about developing competitive acting skills with tips and advice for both new and advanced actors alike, along with real training, guidance, and mentorship. I promise I can help you level up no matter where you are in your journey. Is this business competitive? Of course. Is it possible to start at any point in your life and find success? Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it. People thrive in this industry when they have the right information and support. Simple. Last thought, we all want to book work and find success, but pursuing a life as an actor, a writer, a creator of any kind requires self-knowledge and an openness to adventure. We need to be vulnerable, willing to grow, and we need community. So whether it's here, where you are locally, or any combination, find your people. If you need classes, career counseling, or one-on-one help of any kind, check out the links below. I look forward to hearing from you. Till next time, Gunner out. Please hit like and subscribe to help build a global community of artists, and check out the links below. I love you.